Greetings. It's a late Friday night here in suburban Maryland. And I wasn't going to go online today. Yesterday I had to go to the doctor. I got there and my blood pressure was almost stroke level. So they sent me home, increased my blood pressure meds, and told me to lay down. Well, I was. And today everybody and their brother was PMing me. It was pretty crazy because some of the things they were PMing me were things that somebody else was saying about me. And as I have reiterated here several times before, other people's opinions of me are other people's business. They're not my business. But that wasn't it. One set of things kept coming in again and again and again and again and again. And it was that troll talking about the Duggars. People were asking that troll her thoughts about all these different things. And she sounded off, and I have to just correct what's being said because there's a whole lot of half-truths being said. Let's just put it that way. We're going to say it's half-truths that troll is spewing. So we're just going to go over some of them tonight because they're interesting. Hey, Lexi. If you don't know me, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I've written for Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering that had to do with the quiverful movement, including the Duggars, and fundamentalist religions. Christophan, better and worse. My blood pressure was 180/90 when I got to the doctor's office to refill my drugs yesterday. So that was not good. But now I've been having so much blood pressure meds and my blood pressure is going in my shoes. It ain't good. It ain't good. And I don't know what else to do. So, yeah, so we're going to see what happens here. But this kind of stuff just infuriates me when people send me screen cap after screen cap after screen cap after screen cap after screen cap of lies and half truths and attempts to make someone seem bigger than they are. I'm going to jump right in. Oh, and do not harass, bully anybody I'm talking about. Not her, not them, not nothing. Okay, that troll. Someone asked her, how did you get into being a YouTube detective? Her answer, I was a writer blogger that covered religious abuse, reality TV before I jumped to YouTube. Not exactly true. Not exactly true at all. She was hired at Pathos to write about the issues of raising a child with chronic illnesses without religion because she had recently left her evangelical church like we had done some years before. So really, that's what her entire column was supposed to be about. She veered to reality TV and eventually hit upon the Duggars once she discovered that there were large numbers of money to be had anytime Josh offended. So there you go. She'll deny that and try to claim that that was her. Okay, let me see. Question, will you ever be reporting more on the Bates? Answer, I do cover the Bates, but I don't cover the, quote, drama between the family because the whole family is miserable and no one likes them in the circles I speak to. Seriously. Well, I would not be surprised to know that fundamentalist families are miserable, and sometimes you do hear from them that they are. I would say a lot of that is just spun up out of whole cloth. She has no way of knowing if they're miserable or not. She's not spoken to any of them. And as far as saying, what all did she say? Let me go back because my brain is like, the whole family is miserable and no one likes them in the circles I speak to. Seriously, I'm going to say I've never, ever, ever, ever once conducted an interview with anybody in the IAF, the Independent Fundamentalist Baptist realm, IBLP, ATI, that said these type of things about the Bates. So I think that's probably an extrapolation and something said by one person that was spun up into an entire castle. Was the person that hired her at Pathos embarrassed or ashamed at all? I don't know. because I don't know who brought her on. That's the thing. I don't know how she came on and who brought her on. I just know she came on suddenly. There she was, and it was all crazy gossip all the time. And that she quickly went from writing about her son and his problems and how to deal with raising a child without religion to screeching at what was her name? Jillian with Jilly Juice, Jillian Epperly, to carrying on about the free birth movement. She just ratcheted from community to community, trying to find something that sparked outrage that everybody liked. But she changed the content of her blog repeatedly, and she didn't actually hit up on the Duggars until very, 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 very late. I'd say almost towards the end of the blog, the beginning of the YouTube thing. And when she first started covering them on YouTube, I don't know if any of you guys remember that. I'm falling off the stool. Modern furniture. Um, when she first started covering the Duggars, she called them the Duggars. She didn't even pronounce their name. She hadn't seen their show. Sadly, at that point, I'd seen all the episodes of her show. It was just crazy. Maybe she just walked in and told them she works there now, deal with it, like she told her lawyer TC lawsuit wasn't worth pursuing. I don't think so. Dirty Uncle Sal, they brought her on for a specific viewpoint, and she immediately switched from that viewpoint. So I don't know what those conversations were. I know they made her sign a contract like myself and everybody else that wrote there. Anything more than that, I cannot speak to. I can tell you that towards the end, it got very ugly. There were quite a few nasty things said back and forth between her and the powers that be of Pathos. Okay. Sorry. Here's a question. Who do you think would be the most likely to break free from the IBLP besides Jill and Ginger? Answer, Jason Duggar. Now, I have my own thoughts on that, about who would be the most likely to break away. And I don't know if that is who I would come up with at all. I don't know why this is going backwards, but we're gonna go with it. Question: Aaron and Tori Bates seem removed from Carlin, Katie, and Alyssa. What caused the rift? Answer: I really don't know. The Bates aren't well liked at all in Fundy circles. The girls are commonly described as stuck up, and the boys are generally called arrogant and jerks. Lawson is the worst. Well, okay. I paid zero attention to the infighting among the Bates daughters. No idea who is. I haven't really stuck with them. If you know anything about my writing, you know that I've dealt with the more serious aspects of Quiverful, and I don't really cover the reality TV people. I know the Bates are. I have distinct thoughts on Lawson Bates. I've heard some things about him. He's not entirely well liked, and he is thought of as arrogant by some people. So there's that. She doesn't seem like a very pleasant person to have as a colleague. Worse if she was in a managerial position. Dirty Uncle Sal, I shiver to think what she would be like as a boss. She would be awful. How on earth do you get Duggars from Duggars? It's like when people mess up my name. It's 5 letters, yet you wouldn't believe how many times I've heard something other than London. I reckon Joanna, Jenny, and Josie, almost said Jose, most likely to blow. Could be wrong, though. I have no idea. I think Jill may be the one who's going to be the rebellious Duggar, and more power to her. I love Jill. I always have. Poor thing, she always sounded like she thought like she was most nervous to me. Do you think a Duggar child will ever publicly turn away from religion? Her answer, I don't know. Right now, no. I don't see many more of them leaving IBLP. Jill is the only one that is not connected to any kind of CULT at this point. I think it's going to happen because that is just the nature of some of these groups. I've seen this happen again and again. I saw it at my old church. You might have some kids that are true believers, and it tends to be the older kids. But as the younger ones come along and you're like, no, I think this is BS, they tend to step away. So I'm thinking we haven't seen the end of this. I have my own distinct thoughts of who I think it'll be. I think there are at least two of the boys that I know of that I think will be the ones that are stepping away. No, Jill is not the oldest. That would be Jana Duggar. And I think she may be one that steps away eventually. I don't know if the Duggars would completely break away, but some are starting to make some of their own decisions that don't include Jim Bob. Actually, that is so true. Absolutely. So true. That is so true. They are starting to step away. So I think we're going to see a number of them step away, but I don't think that anybody can really predict who and when besides Jill. Okay. Carly and Josie don't seem very close. Is that true? That's somebody talking about the Bates daughters again. As far as I've heard, there's a lot of pettiness and jealousy with the daughters, lots of entitlement, arrogance, as well as being raised in the public eye. The Bates daughters are not well liked by other fundies. Again, I've heard nothing of the sort, but then again, I don't focus on the Bates. I've heard nothing negative about the Bates besides Gil Bates being on the board at the IBLP when Bill Gothard went through his things. That was the only thing that I can remember. Some of the Bates girls, yeah, they have ditched it. Do you think it has anything to do with older kids being raised by the parents, whereas the younger kids get cared for by the older kids? Brenda Lee, I wouldn't doubt that at all, because mother and father are very careful to inculcate their beliefs into the younger kids. But the older kids, and the older kids are the ones, especially in the Duggar household, who are raising the younger children. And you cannot tell me, hey, Big Mama, you cannot tell me that they are following every single rule, treating their siblings with the kind of love and care that the parents might. Oh, Michelle with her little voice. Michelle Duggar. And that voice. The sad thing is I know women, and I've known quiverful mothers that could have doubled as Michelle. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Been having high blood pressure, been laying down, been high, low, all around. I don't know. I do think some will break away, but it'll be gradual. As anything, it usually is. I've heard nothing negative about most of the Bates. I bought a dress from the girls' store, and I plan on buying another one. Actually, that's awesome. Okay. If you had to marry a male Duggar, who would you pick and why? Her answer, none. In my work, I've learned too much about the family. The sons were raised very entitled and aren't known to treat others well. I think the only one we can really say that about is Josh. The rest of them, I haven't heard much about them treating women poorly. I would think that being raised in the IBLP, they probably do. But until I have verifiable proof of any of that, I wouldn't go on record to say that. You hear stuff all the time. About people in this lifestyle, but you kind of have to discount it because a lot of those people, I don't want to say jealous haters, but some of them are. They just are eager to tear down the families no matter how. So basically, the way I handled it with NLQ, no longer quivering, was if I couldn't verify it by at least two people, and I couldn't verify it by something I'd seen, I didn't run with it. One time I did, and that was I ran with some of her gossip just for the heck of it to see what she would do, and she flipped out. So there you go. Let me read the next one.
How do you get into being a YouTube? Oh, I've already covered that. Nah. So I got to go over to the next set of things that somebody sent me. Oh, I've got tons of these stupid things too today. What were your interactions with the Dillards, when you interviewed them, Amy and Derek? Okay, her answer. Derek is actually extremely kind, very respectful, and his mom is the sweetest woman. Derek's motivations are to protect his wife. Amy is nice, but is fake nice. Her motivations are not sincere. Okay, I'll agree with her on Derek, but the thing is, she didn't actually interview Derek, and I'm sure she didn't interview Amy. I know what happened with Derek because we were still friends by that point. She told me he had agreed to answer a few questions, so she sent him an email. He answered a few questions. She sent him another one. As far as I know, hey, Bliss Chris, as far as I know, that was the only interview that took place with Derek. Now, I've seen Derek show up in her live streams, and she's got him pegged. He seems to be very nice and very respectful, and his main concern is Jill. But she said so many ugly, nasty things about him through the years, including not so recently, that I just am kind of like, girl, whatever. Amy has always struck me as someone who is searching for who she is in the glare of the fame of her cousins. And we all know how that ended up between Amy and her. Brenda Lee, he's in a place that will never allow conjugal visits. Josh Duggar is in federal jail. Federal prison never allows conjugal visits at all. So he is out of luck. He's out of luck unless another inmate takes him as his wife. Do you think Anna thinks her visit with Josh will get her an overnight visit? I'm sure she knows it won't, because federal prison does not allow conjugal visits. And she knows that. They're upfront about it. So that's not even something that's ever going to happen. Okay, let's see. Can you in depth explain why Counting On ended? Her answer. Josh Duggar is a criminal pedophile, and the Duggars weren't good for business. It's all about money with TLC. Well, yeah, I'll agree with her on that one. That is absolutely the truth of how TLC and other networks operate. Will we ever find out why Bringing Up Bates was abruptly canceled? Her answer. I was told by an insider that the viral video of one of the boys mocking George Floyd's murder sunk the show. The network originally started as a gospel network, which has a huge number of they have a huge number of, she's got BIPOC. I'm just going to assume that means person of color on staff who are outraged. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt that at all. I'm not going to argue that point. I know that their show is suddenly taken off. Like I said, I haven't kept up with the Bates at all. I don't watch them. I guess that means I got to go pick up the bread. My son is cooking, is baking bread. I've talked to Kathy Dillard and Derek on social media over the years. They've always been very nice. Ben's mom too. Ben's father is a lot less nice. Belinda, I would not doubt that at all. I've heard like, oh, thank you, mermaid. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm not feeling so beautiful. Okay. Any news of romances for the younger Duggar boys? Her answer. Most people don't care too much about the Duggars' love lives or babies, truthfully. When I report on it, the average person is not interested because they're disgusted by the family. Okay, I'm just going to stop her here and say that's not quite true. Hey, Carol. Black and Indigenous people of color. Okay, Brenda Lee, I did not know what that acronym was for. I don't think that's true. I think there's still a hardcore Duggar fan base that may be disgusted by Josh, But they're still eager to hear about the babies and the engagements and all of that. That group will always be around. We used to call them the Duggar huggers, which I know is a term she's picked up. And there's a lot of truth to that. There are some people that have still to this day refused to believe Josh is guilty. So what can you do with people like that? What do you think of Lawson Bates? Okay, her answer. Lawson, don't sue me. Don't strike my channel because I am not saying this. I'm quoting that troll. You need to go strike her. Today, a source who knows Lawson said to me, Lawson is the most spiteful, arrogant, self-absorbed piece of shiza I've ever met. He will do whatever is in his power to shut down Fundy Friday's channel because he's a jerk like that. Okay, what he did to shut down Fundy Fridays is awful. I'm just going to come out and condemn that right now. That was awful. That was bad. I heard he's doing it to a lot of other channels. He's trying to shut down other ones too. He's trying to shut down anybody that talks negative about him. You know, over at No Longer Quivering, only thing I ever said negative about him was when I guess like 3 or 4 years ago, it must have been at least because it was pre-COVID, when there was the hurricane that rolled through the Bahamas and his mission organization went down there and did some not so nice things. Not so nice things. So that's the only thing I've really heard about that. Now, I've heard him described that way. I have heard that. I don't know how true it is. But seeing that he tried to have Fundy Friday shut down, and Jen is a wonderful person, I tend to think there might be a little truth to that. I tend to think that might actually be a true description. Since this mess happens with Josh, are Gil and Kathy Bates still good friends with Jim Bob and Michelle? Her answer. From what I've heard, they've never been very close. Their kids are, but Jim and Gil are both megalomaniacs that are obsessed with power, with only room for one of them in the relationship. Hold up, wait up. Let me talk about this a bit. Okay, my understanding, hey Prairie, is that both families were pretty enmeshed for a long time, particularly when the kids were young. They went over, the Bates went to the Duggars went to the Bates. There was a lot of interaction. So to say that there was no friendship because they're megalomaniacs, I mean, we're not talking about evil Lex Luthor types here. And Gil has been on the board at the IBLP. Jim Bob never has. I don't know if he's ever wanted to be on the board, quite frankly. But I think that is a kind of a shallow assessment of the relationship. Nobody really knows. They were close at one time. I don't know if they're close now. Like I said before, once I moved out of writing all the time about the Duggars and started covering other stuff at No Longer Quivering, and they never were, subject number one. And I never had time for the Bates. The Bates were just not on my radar at all. Andy, could you do me a favor? Get me a little water in here, please. I'm dying of thirst. I should never sit down without having, okay. Another question. Do you feel Kelly Jo Bates is more nurturing mother than Michelle Duggar? Her answer. No, not even a little bit. She's just way better con artist than Michelle. The Bates kids were super wild and didn't adhere to most of their rules ever. Well, again, who knows? I think, and I've said this before about Michelle Duggar and about many quiverful mothers, Thank you. Many women that join this particular type of Christianity, they do it because they're not happy in their marriages. So you'll see what you'll see traditionally is the wife joins, and then darn these chairs, and I'm losing my shoes. I'm a hot mess tonight. The wives join in an effort to remake the husband. See you later, Brenda Lee. I'll feel better, I'm sure. The wives join to change the husband because they are told that if they pray right, bake bread. My son just baked some yummy bread. Clean, cook, raise the children, homeschool the children, never lose their temper or raise their voice with their husbands, that God will change the husbands into a worthy man. I've never seen that happen, but I have seen women join this particular flavor of Christianity in an attempt to do that exact same thing. So at some point, you become kind of you become a cultural enforcer. You become a person that falsely represents the culture to others and then make sure everybody else follows it to the letter. I see Michelle and Kelly operating in that sphere. That's what I'm seeing. So I'm not sure either one of them is nurturing at all. All of Michelle's blog posts that she's talked about when the kids were young, it doesn't sound like she was nurturing. It sounds like she was overwhelmed and outnumbered. Overwhelmed, outnumbered. You're just trying to keep your head above water. Question: do any of the Duggars have a quote normal job? Her answer: nope. The IBLP teaches not to work with non-believers or to be exposed to those not equally yoked because they are told they are the anointed and it makes them dependent on the group and grifters. Not quite. That's not really a very good answer. You're not encouraged to work outside jobs. That's much is true, because you might have to find yourself under the authority of another man or, God forbid, another woman. So you would have a boss over you. You are encouraged to have home businesses. And Jim Bob has done that. He holds a real estate license. He holds an insurance license, I think it was, I heard. And he holds a car seller's license. He used to have a tow truck. He owns a number of properties that he rents out. Yeah, John David was a cop for a while, I think. And there have been things like that. And Josh sold used cars. Jim Bob has sold used cars. So they're always coming up with different ways to find to bring income in. And I saw that very clearly in my Quiverful days. Very few people actually worked in anything but these kind of jobs that they could make up. And a lot of times they weren't financially successful, but it sounds like from everything I've read about the Duggars and seen about the things they're involved in, they have been. Now, whether they will be in the future, who knows? And I don't think the Bates were very financially successful. So until later years, I remember at one point on the 19 Kids and Counting, where they went to rebuild the Bates trailer, I think it was, because one of the walls had fallen in or something. I was overwhelmed and outnumbered with 3 kids. Big Mama, I hear you. I hear you. I have 3, and sometimes I feel outnumbered, even when they're all grown up now. The Duggars used to do court transcripts. Josh is the only one to have held a traditional job with a hate group, admittedly, but still, yeah, you're right about that, Belinda. I forgot. He was with the Family Research Council for a while. And one of our viewers here, Prairie, has had interaction with him there. I believe she said. She told me one time about it. I kind of laughed thinking about that because he gives off creep vibes. He just does. He gives off creep vibes, and I can't help myself. Okay. Is Kendra's dad along the same lines as Jim Bob? Her answer, Paul is more conservative and extreme than Jim Bob, and Christina isn't well liked. She allegedly hates divorced women and is very judgmental. No idea. No idea. I do know that in a lot of these groups, divorce is really frowned upon. Divorced women are extremely frowned upon. It's like Jezebels. Oh, hey, girl. Are you going to bed now? The dog is coming in to go to bed. They have rebuilt the Bates home, but they didn't finish it, and the community raised money and helped them finish because the Bates were living on a construction site. I'm so disgusted to hear that. That's so silly. And I've seen that happen before in Quiverful. In my book, I talked about a family that I knew that lived in a mobile home that kept falling apart. And the husband was most clever. He would always remake the mobile home with materials that others would discard or stuff from the recycle center. And he'd do a good job of it. It was great. But he wasn't alone. We had a lot of people there that didn't have a lot of money that had creative ways to get by. And sometimes it did take a fundraiser so somebody could have a roof over their heads. I remember a really sad situation where someone was living in an older mobile home and the front wall just came off and had to be replaced. We had to fundraise for that. Next question. When did Amy turn sour? I remember the live streams you did with her. She, quote, seems nice. Answer, I don't care to revisit the situation. Amy is probably as much of a liar as her uncle. Whoopsie. Sounds like sour grapes from here. What Amy is, like I said before, I think Amy has struggled to figure out who she is in light of her famous cousins. We saw her try a career in Nashville as a country music singer without a whole lot of backing or talent. We've seen her try different things. Right now, she's had her clothing store, and that's supposedly going online. Her and that troll were thick as thieves for a long time, and that ended. That ended when she started making plans to go to Arkansas for the trial and saying that Amy was begging her to stay with her to protect her against Josh. That kind of blew up. Sour grapes. This is typically what happens with friends with her. It's what happened with me. It's what happened to Amy. It's what happened to everyone else that's had anything to do with her. Your friends, as long as she can use you, the second you don't have any value to her, she will toss you aside. How many hours a week do you work? I don't know. Less than 40 on video production. Other stuff, I don't know. I don't have a normal schedule. My work day doesn't really start until 1 p.m. I spend the mornings with my family. No comment. Oh. What is your take on Whitney Bates? I am so sick of the Bates girls selling stuff on Instagram. Okay, her answer. Everyone I've spoken to loves Whitney, but she was treated horribly by the family because her mom wasn't religious and was single. They treated her like trash. Zach isn't a preach, and Whitney is just so desperate for them to like her and to be liked. Oh, Zach isn't a peach. What am I saying? Preach. People that knew her before are sad she got sucked into this family. Again, I have no idea. Yeah, Belinda, I kind of got the impression that's what it was with John David. He was like an auxiliary law enforcement they called in. I don't know if they pay those guys or not. But as far as the Bates, like I said, I don't know. But I think that somebody is putting way too much energy in knowing everything about everything to do with the Bates and everyone else surrounding the beloved Duggars. Have you ever spoken with the Plaths? Her answer. Olivia and Ethan. Olivia has a lot of religious trauma. Okay, this one I can speak to. This one I know for sure. Olivia Plath is the member of a recovery group that I'm in. Okay, one of many that I'm in. And she somehow, that troll figured out that she was a member there, and that troll joined under two different names. Okay, not knowing that I was there, number one, and number two, the admin and I are good friends. In fact, the admin and I worked together before in different projects. So I got to quit kicking this stupid thing. So she joined. She started harassing the hell out of Olivia, trying to get Olivia's attention, and then talking about how they were best friends and her whole spiel all over again. Guess what happened? Maud blocked her from the group, both of her profiles, her regular one and her suck puppet one, removed her post where she was promoting her YouTube channel, and Olivia blocked her. Olivia Plath has her blocked in every way, shape, and form. I wouldn't care about her funny obsession if she actually put effort in to do a good job of it. Melinda, that's the thing. She doesn't. She just steals everybody else's information and goes with it. Yeah, so same here. That's why I said I don't follow the Bates. And I'm not going to pretend that I know all about the Bates when I don't. Okay, this is one about the roll-offs, so I'm going to skip it. I'd love to hear more Bates. Carlin seems less funny, ripped jeans and such. She said, I have no tea on their drama. Sorry, everyone. I'm deleting all the questions on the Bates because I don't know whether the girls are mad at each other and I don't care. Well, I guess that's good for her. I mean, I'm just because, and I think what the thing is, the reason she's not covering the Bates is because that Mr. I want to be a supermodel Bates is going around striking anybody who's talking about him and the Bates. Yeah, Big Mama, that's true. That's how she does it. She will infiltrate every support group she can get her hands on. Now she's learned better than to jump in and try and speak on various things and say, hey, here I am. She's learned to lurk. I mean, look, she gets a lot of stuff from Duggar Snark on Reddit and WOACB and a couple other sites. And so she is getting information from others and lying about where her source is. And then it becomes a source instead of, hey, I saw it on Reddit. And I am not a big fan of not disclosing where you're getting your information from. Any idea if Michelle has any contact now with her family? Her answer, a ton. She's raising Tyler. The Peters families are her nieces and nephews, and in the IBLP, cousin Emily is her niece, and no, she wasn't a mother's helper, and she never lived with Josh and Anna. Well. That was what they were putting out there, that Emily was helping out as a mother's helper with Josh and Anna. That was the spin that was being put on it. The Bates bite back pretty hard. Yep, they will. All the older ones will come for creators, Facebook groups, etc. The Duggars pretty much don't. That's true, Belinda. They don't. And actually, I don't think the Bates are near as interesting as the Duggars, because the Duggars have deep secrets that they're clearly hiding. And when those things like Josh come out and bite them on the rear end, it's always interesting to watch Jim Bob Duggar do his spin where he's like, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, like on The Wizard of Oz. It's like, dude, we can see you're not wearing pants back there. So you might as well just confess and admit it and move on. With so many kids, there has to be some that are gay. That was the question.
I don't speculate or discuss this topic anymore. It's none of our business. Well. That is a first to me because she has made hay speculating on the sexuality of Jana Duggar, Josiah, the two that are twins. She has speculated on the sexuality of a number of the Duggar kids. So this is news to me that she stopped doing this. Something about the Websters. Okay, here we go. Here's something interesting. Alyssa Webster has gone silent, utterly. Any thoughts on or info on why? Her answer, here are my thoughts. Gil Bates is on the board and a leader of a sadistic sex cult. Alyssa and John still teach their children the IBLP character qualities. The sooner people realize the Bates are worse than the Duggars, the better. Oh, no, she didn't. Yes, she did. She just accused Gil Bates. She just accused Bill Gates of Gil Bates. I'm sorry, I'm having a senior moment here. Of sex crimes, basically. And there's no evidence that he ever has done any or had anything to do with Bill Gothard's shenanigans. No evidence whatsoever. I'm going to have to defend Gil here. And that makes me uncomfortable because I'm not crazy about the IBLP because some of the stuff they teach is just so awful. They teach that people who were sexually abused somehow brought that into their own lives. There's so many other things. And it's just not true. About the Websters, I can't speak to that. Again, I don't keep up with all the minor fundy families. I'm looking when I'm writing and about these things, I'm looking at the bigger ministries like the IBLP. I'm looking at the Bill Gothards. I'm not looking at the Gil Bates. I am looking at the Mike and Debbie Pearls. I am not looking at the Alyssa Websters. I'm looking at Nancy Campbell. I'm not looking at whatever the Bates mom's name is. I'll tell you what, I know for a fact that old Jim Bog used to come into Facebook groups under socks. That would not surprise me at all. I would believe that because he seems to have issues with control freakiness. I'm going to come right out and say that he seems like he's very controlling. Do you think Jim Bob could ever end up in jail for his involvements with Josh? Her answer, no. If Jim Bob ever ends up arrested, it'll be for tax evasion, money laundering, and fraud. Mark my words. Okay, I have a funny story to tell about that. At the point where I started to realize that Katie Joy was working me for information, before I discovered that she had started using my writing as the basis for her things, she was trying to work me for information. So I decided to give her some fake information, some fake information. There is someone in my realm, someone in my larger circle that works with the IRS. They do criminal investigations, and we're criminally investigating all these rappers, all these. I think they were the person that brought down housewives of whatever. Giudice, was that the last name? See, I don't watch reality television, so I miss all this crap. So I know he goes after big boys. I wouldn't even be surprised if he'd have been involved with the thing with Chrisley, but I haven't talked to him in a long time. It's no longer a part of my orbit. So I decided to work her and see what she would say. I said, hey, so-and-so was possibly looking into the tax records of one Jim Bob Duggar to see if she would run with it. And sure enough, she grabbed it and ran with it. Not true at all. Now, later, I did hear this person say that they were thinking about doing that. But again, it's not something that they can that they entirely have the control over. I'm going to investigate this person and not this person. So there was some gossip going on that was going to happen. He said he had heard that they were being investigated, but as far as me being able to give you the details or when or where, but this was Judy, Judu, Duche, yeah, whatever, Prairie. I don't know who they are. I just know that the woman's eyes are kind of far apart. That's the only thing I've ever seen. And she flipped a table once. Someone told me. I don't know. But yeah, so I fed her that just to see what she would do. And sure enough, she grabbed it and ran with it like it was the real deal. And it was like, yeah, I just punked you. I just, for the first time, figured out really what awful person you are, that everybody's been telling me this for eons, and I haven't wanted to listen. What is Michelle Duggar like in person, according to sources? Truthfully, it's very sad. Michelle is controlled by Jim Bob. He doesn't treat her well. She has no say about what Jim does. The relationship is not equal. What he says goes. He doesn't like women to be seen or heard. I met Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, and I got the opportunity to observe them for 30, 40 minutes. And the impression I got is that he looked to her for approval more than she controls everything. Now, that could be wrong. That could be wrong. I admit I'm not always right. So I'm not believing that that's the entire story. Yeah, Belinda, I think she wears the pants. That was what I picked up on being around them, is that she wears the pants. He looks to her for approval. So who's doing what to whom and how nasty they are, who knows? It's just, I came away with a completely different impression. Oh, I love this one. How do you verify the identity of Duggar insiders? Her answer, it's not hard. A lot of them are people that were on the show or are families you all know. Utter BS. I will tell you right now that when I was writing for Pathos, her and I were sometimes getting from the same person. And a lot of times it was not people so much connected to the show. Thank you, Flying Monkeys, by Yarn Fun. Thanks you very much. I'm going to go blow that while I'm here this week. So she, what was I talking about? I was talking about, I tell you, people that she was they're the same people that are selling their info to the tabloids for unnamed Duggar insiders, who may not be insiders at all. May just be people that live in that town and observe them and are talking trash. I don't think there's very much vetting going on at all. I just don't see it. Okay. Okay, so let me go to the next set, because those are two sets of questions. I wonder if Michelle ever had a boyfriend before Jim Bob. Answer, she did. Here is the story. Two friends of Jim Bob's told me that this about Josh. When Josh was caught molesting his sisters, Jim Bob allegedly told his friends it was Michelle's fault because she masturbated as a teen. They believe sexual sins are handed down. Jim told the friends that he's never had a lustful thought nor ever masturbated, allegedly. I don't know who told her that, but I think they're pulling her leg. Michelle has talked about having boyfriends in their books. She's talked about them, her and Jim Bob, trying not to go too far when they were dating, how difficult that was. So I think, and I don't see, that's one thing I don't see in these groups, that men will talk that way about their wives to other people, except in prayer groups. If she had wrapped that and said, that was said in a men's Bible study, I would have bought it. I might have bought it.
because the men do talk that way among themselves in these groups and say, please pray for me. I'm going through XYZ. My wife brought this down. And they do believe in generational sins. That much is true. They do believe that. And I know that. Belinda, he definitely was. That mini golf thing was one of the grossest things I've ever seen. I was just like, did not sit well with me. Doing that in front of kids? Why would you do that in front of your children? You're trying to tell your children out. You're trying to turn them all gay. Are you ever going to talk about Brian Laundrie's confession? No, I don't care about that. I do care that Gabby Petito is dead and the Painter family is going through. I don't care for all this media coverage going on right now. What are your favorite things to do as a family? She said, I appreciate this question, but given how my personal statements are used to hurt me, I try to stick to business here. Hope you understand. I'm not even going to comment on that one. Do your instincts tell you there's anything worse in the DBPs than what Josh did? Her answer, I don't know the initials at all. I can speculate on what those initials are, but I'm not going to because this person is just fishing for dirt. What makes the Bates worse than the Duggars? Her answer, Gil Bates covered your for Bill Gothard's sexual abuse of minors. Gil is one of 3 members of the IBLP that runs the operations. The IBLP is a sadistic sex CULT that abused women and children. There are a lot of things I don't like about the IBLP. But saying that Gil Bates is responsible for the many years of alleged abuse that Bill Gothard handed out, Gil hasn't even been on the board that many years. So I think this is just ridiculous to blame him for everything. And yeah, Gothard is banned from IBLP property. As far as I'm concerned, they came down on him with proper severity. You know, the what do you call it? The length of time where you can prosecute a case, I can't even remember the word. This is what happens when you're a senior citizen and you're in some drug that maddles your mind. The time to prosecute on all of those is run out, unfortunately. So for the IBLP to strip him of office and to run him off that, he doesn't work for the IBLP. You're right. Statute of limitations. I knew I could count on you. Statute of limitations. Yes. The statute of limitations is run out on anything he's done. That's sad to say. Who are your favorite and least favorite Duggars? Answer. The Duggars are in a sadistic sex CULT that abuses women and children. None of them are my favorites. Jill is free, and that takes courage. The only part of that I'll agree with is Jill is free, and that takes courage. The rest of that, it seems vindictive. I'm always on drugs that numb the mind from arthritis. Chronic would be Queen. Yeah, I know what that's like. That Lyricaid, it addles my brain. I'm having some trouble getting it because apparently it's a controlled substance in the U.S. They use it so that people won't use narcotics for pain, and then they make it as a controlled substance when you can't even get high off of it. Ridiculous. Michelle is your least favorite. I think that my least favorite is Jim Bob Duggar because he has been caught in a number of fibs and he just cannot be straight and truthful about horrible things. Belinda, yeah, the parents are the ones that I blame and dislike. Prairie, I don't understand why it's controlled, but I'm having a problem. I went to patients first to get a refill because I'm going to run out. And they didn't want to give me the refill. They finally gave me the refill after I explained, look, I had a stroke, it's nerve damage. And then they supposedly wired it to CVS. It's not there. And they're squabbling as to who the responsibility is. I don't know. I'm about to run out, and you can have seizures if you run out of that. She's my least favorite because she's just horrible with parenting. She's probably of the two, she's my least favorite because I think she's running the show and she's a crappy parent. Prairie, I wish it could too, but I'm going to hope that CVS and Patient First finish their squabble. I'm going back in there tomorrow, and if they don't have tomorrow, then I'm going to have to start rationing my pills. How sad. Okay, that one I've already covered. That one. Some of these that I'm being sent are just repeats. But I gotta say, I have to laugh at the when did Amy turn sour one. Okay, and guess what? We just went all the way through them. I can't believe it. I don't judge the Duggar kids. They're all victims from birth. CULT kids have it tough. Belinda, same. I would like to see some of them escape. I mean, Jim Bob isn't exactly up for Parent of the Year either. Nobody, exactly. Exactly. Michelle does give off mean girl vibes. So I'm going to go to bed. Maybe I'll skip my Lyrica for tonight and see if I can sleep without it. I've had it for this morning, so there won't be any seizures. But damn it, I got to tell you guys, the state of healthcare in the U.S. is just so incredibly screwed up. I mean, I had a long talk with the doctor I saw there about it. He's like, well, yeah, this is the insurance companies. And I gotta say, it's a couple of things. I think it's the insurance companies. I think it's the Supreme Court and some of the other places that are making rules about these things. It's the greedy medical supply companies. Those of you that know me have listened to me gripe all week about the fact that I could order all the supplies for my medical equipment off Amazon for $110 for the year. But to get them from a legitimate medical supply company through my insurance company, I'm $275 out of pocket. And explain that one to me. And it's not just the insurance. Some of it is the huge insurance that the doctors have to carry, the malpractice laws. It's a lot of different things. See you, Belinda. Nice seeing you here. So it's so many different things. But my critical care pulmo I had for years, I absolutely adored that man. He used to say he would like to see things roll back to the way they used to be, where you could just walk in and pay a doctor cash, and it was reasonable, and it wasn't going to break the bank. He used to say that, and I thought that was probably the wisest thing. He said, I want to see single payer, I want to see it affordable. And he used to waive all my copays because I was in there every week or two getting Xolair injections. Healthcare in the U.S. has lost its way. Most definitely it's lost its way. And that is, it's tragic because I talked to so many people who've told me their horror stories, and I just cannot believe it. So whenever I have a fundamentalist, somebody who's like Michelle Duggar and them and their evangelical quiverful coats churches that wants to start fighting with me about healthcare, and they immediately point at Canada because Canada has socialized medicine. I say, I've lived in places with socialized medicine. Socialized medicine is not a bad thing. Where socialized medicine falls down is if you have something weird or something that requires experimental drugs. That's where they fall down because they don't cover Xolair. They make you go 100% out of pocket for that. At least they did when I got off of it. They could have changed by now. But back then, I'd see people on the Xolair boards begging for the money to have the shots in Canada. So I don't think any country does it 100% perfect, but every other industrialized, socialized, first world country has socialized medicine but the US. And something has to happen. People are going broke every time they get cancer. And that's just not right. You know, people ask me about my politics a lot, and I tell people my politics are I want to see everybody have health care that does not break them. I want to see everybody fed. I want to see everybody with a roof over their head, the opportunity for education. That's my politics. That's my politics. I want to see all of that happen. And I want to see the U.S. stop interfering in world things that are screwing things up. That's the reason we have so many migrants from Central and South America, is because the U.S. has meddled in their politics and wrecked their nations. Basically. So there we go. That's my rant. Well-being is a beautiful thing. You're exactly right, Prairie. I'm going to go ahead and go now. I wasn't going to do this rant, but everybody kept sending me this. And it's like, I've got to comment on this. Like I said, there are a few things I agree with her on, but there is a whole lot that she is just getting so completely wrong that all I could do was start reading those questions and answering them and saying, well, not quite true. Okay, you guys, avoid that troll and sleep well tonight. Or if you're somewhere else, have a good day. Good night.